Is a little after 7:30. We have 3 items on our agenda. Again, this is being held virtually with counselors attending in person and remotely. No public attendance will be permitted. The meeting will be televised on WMCT-TV, and you can view the meeting using the link under the meeting videos tab on the city website. I don't believe there are any members of the committee that, oh, there is now. So we have one watching virtually, so I will call roll call for attendance. Councilor Landers?
Councilor Landis here.
Councilor
Present.
Doucette?
Councilor Doucette is present.
Councilor Navin?
Councilor Navin is present.
Councilor Wagner?
Council Wagner is present.
And Councilor Roby as chair is present. We have 3 items on our agenda. 2 are related. The first is order number 20-100-7948, an application for an electronic message board gas pricing sign from William Camuso for Lincoln 431 LLC Shell Station located at 431 Lincoln Street. The second one is order number 20-100-8046, which is a request to operate that same station for 24 hours. And we're going to do a review of order number 20-100-7975, which is the proposed zoning amendment from President Ossing, Chapter 650, to add a new section for large-scale ground-mounted solar voltaic overlay district. We will start with the electronic message board. The City Council had received this full packet, and again in our packet today, where we got the picture of what this will look like to be able to compare it to what is currently there. We did, in regards to this, receive a couple of communications from residents that were not happy with the way the gas station now looks after it was renovated. I know for me personally, the sign itself isn't really the issue, it's the canopy and the additional lights, but it is certainly up to everybody else. What they want to do is take the existing signage that they have to replace every time there is a change in price of the gas to make it be LED lights that are changeable internally in the office. So I will open this up to discussion for first members of the committee, and then any other members who have questions. So, committee voting members, comments, questions, motion? This is on the message board. We did receive the draft special permit. I can go over that if anybody wants to. Depending on how the vote goes, I do have some questions on it that we can go over when we're at that point. Nobody? All right. Oh, Councilor Landers. I looked and you didn't have your hand up. I'm sorry. So Councilor Landers.
This is like all the other Shell gas stations or other gas stations in town. Is that true, Madam Chair?
It is like all the other LED signs that we have approved. We did one at 342 Boston Post Road, at 155 Boston Post Road West, and at 114 East Main Street. They're all changing their signs that have the price of the gas from the signs that you have to go out and change by climbing on a ladder to one that they can change in an office.
I mean,
so
they did a nice job, doing over the gas station here. I mean, I really, all the Shell gas stations, but this is right up with the best of them. The problem is, this is in a strictly residential area. I'm not sure how many people live, within view of it, but that's a little bit of a problem. But I think they're asking to be like everybody else.
I would agree with that.
That's
Other
not bad.
questions, comments? Did you have any other comments?
No,
I'm
that
sorry.
would be it for
Cut you
now.
off. Anybody else from the voting committee? If not, I saw Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think this, they are in a residential area, but they are trying to be consistent with the rest of the gas stations. There's nothing, seems to be any different special from this. So if based upon what other conversations people have, I don't have an issue with moving forward on this.
Thank you. Counselor Ossing?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too agree with Councilors Doucette and Landers. I mean, it's kind of the way we've got them all. And just as a reminder to everybody, it was a business district. We rezoned it to the neighborhood business district, so there just happens to be housing around it. But to that point, I was wondering if Mr. Caruso could address, through you, Madam Chair, the issue of dimming the lights if possible. I don't want them off, because I agree with the safety element, especially if we get to item 2 when asking for the 24-hour element. But to sort of address, I mean, I won't argue it's bright, but but I want it bright when a gas station is in operation, all right?
Right.
But as it gets limited, I just wanted, Mr. Caruso said he'd take a look at it. He mentioned, he sent us the picture with the canopy, but I'm not sure it's the canopy that bothers everybody as such as the LED lights under the canopy that are out there, so.
If you don't mind, I would like to hold on that discussion till we actually do discuss the 24 hours, because to me, even if we don't approve the 24 hours, the lights are bright, and they would be on until 11 o'clock at night. So I think that that's where the relevant conversation can take place.
Then if that's the case, I agree with the permit to allow the sign change.
Further discussion? Counsel Wagner?
Council Wagner, just a clarification question. So I just want to clarify, there are 2 things we're talking about. There's the sign, right, because I do have questions about the lighting, but that's separate because that's the canopy. So right now, we're only talking about the sign, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, if it's, sorry,
That's okay.
everybody's jumping in finally. Counselor Navin, I'll go
Thank
to
you.
you first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for Mr. Camuso. I don't know, this may be because I am new to urban, this may be something that has been addressed in past applications, but with a new LED sign, are you able to dim the brightness levels of the sign and perhaps do it at different hours of the day if that becomes a concern? And then I should also echo, and I should have started with that, that, I do think that as these signs become more prevalent, and people are trying to keep up, that it is a good idea that we allow people to kind of continue to match other gas stations across the city. But I am curious, Mr. Camuso, if you know if that sign can be dimmed, at different late at night or early in the morning, while you do still have hours of operation that are currently available.
Mr. Camuso, did you hear that? Can you respond?
I did, yes.
If you-
I'm not 100% sure about the sign itself, and I was really looking more at the second about the 24-hour thing. I did find out that at least the outside lights, which is around the face of the building, and all the area lights are dimmable. I obviously don't know how that works, but the electrician says that similar to the way you would do it in your house, on a light switch, there is some type of gizmo that you can put on it to make the lights dimmer. Of course, safety is a concern, so I don't, I wouldn't know or wouldn't want to make the call myself as to how dim you go, and I would ask that maybe the chief of police met over there or someone from the town met me there one night, and, we could put this dimmer on and then see how dim we can go and still have it be safe. And, come to an agreement that that's what we would leave it at, and I guess lock it up so that it can't be tampered with.
I will, in looking at the code does specify an electronic message center signs, and maybe we can find out for sure we have the assistant solicitor on with us. It does say that the signs will ensure that the lights are dimmed to meet brightness standards set forth in 526.13b6. So I would think that would include this sign. Now, I don't know what those standards are, but if they're specified in the code somewhere, if we approve this and they're too bright, I'm sure that there would be code enforcement coming, knocking on your door.
Yeah, I thought that Steve Pedro, the architect from AU Engineering, was going to be on tonight, and,
I believe
I am here.
Yes.
oh, okay, Steve, sorry. So do you know if the light can be dimmed?
Yes, the LED price panel has a sensor, a light sensor on it, that during the day when it needs to have a higher intensity, it increases, and then at night in the darkness, it doesn't need that intensity and it dims down.
Is that something that's adjustable?
I believe it could be adjustable.
Okay.
All right, does that answer your
Setting
question?
a,
Councilor
a
Naven?
minimal, a minimum lighting standard for dark, and then the highest and for a bright day.
Okay, and I think you all have a copy of the special permit language, which the very last sentence is, or one of the conditions is that it meet the sign ordinance. So any issues with the brightness of that would get taken care of by code enforcement, I would guess. All right. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, speaking with the residents in that area, they are adamantly opposed to any additional luminous lighting at all in that section due to it is a residential area. And I agree with them. I would not personally want to be having my dinner in a dining room and actually be looking at an LED sign. So it is definitely a no for the residents there for any additional lighting. I am certainly not a voting member of Urban, but I would like to certainly see an added condition to the special permit in regards to hopefully mitigate any of the additional illumination on the site. But I am not a voting member of Urban, but that is my opinion, Madam Chair.
All right. Again, as we said, the sign permit language, and I believe we do have legal with us. I think when I talked to them earlier, putting language like that is difficult to do. And again, to me, that would be the 24-hour operating part of it, where I would see more need for it. Personally, I would just like to read the email that we received today from the residents of 46 Pleasant Street, and I will just read the last sentence, because they were reiterating that they were against this sign, but it says, regarding the request for permission to operate 24 hours a day, we fall into the same category. We are against the granting of this request without some concessions from the owner regarding the excessive lighting. We can require those concessions.
And then I know that is one resident on Pleasant Street family. Also, we have the lofts right there, nice renovation, and the majority of them adamantly opposed to any additional LED lighting in that area. So it's just the way it came up with the lighting and then the 24-hour, but to keep it separate, the residents there are opposed to any additional lighting in that area.
Okay, and maybe this is a good time. I had asked for the ability to put on the screen. We received a photograph today from the petitioner taken with the canopy light off to compare it with one of the photos that we had sent from an abutter with the lights on. Now, if we can put those on the screen, Mr. Kerrigan, you will notice that the gas sign that we're discussing is lit. The top part with the shell is lit currently, would remain lit. What would change would be those three signs that are lit behind the prices of the gasoline, and would be reduced to actually only show two, according to the photo that we received, which unfortunately he doesn't have up there. But I think what's important is we're talking about the sign, and to me that sign doesn't pose the problem. The canopy poses the problem. So whether we add a little LED to the sign there, where the pointer is, isn't really going to change the light from the canopy. Councilor Navin.
Madam Chair, thank you. I was wondering if the proponent knows what the difference, if they have had an estimate of what the light is going to be coming off the sign now versus what it will be with an LED, and if that is information they have to be able to show, if they've been able to take a reading to show the impact, and if it's an overall increase, decrease, or if it will stay the same.
And maybe you can clarify also, because in my understanding of the special permit is that shell sign stays the same. It does not become LED. What's LED will be 2 bars in the middle of the sign, which you had indicated were dimmable.
Madam Chair, may I address the question?
Yes, thank you.
So the top portion of the sign, the Shell logo will not change. It will remain illuminated, internally illuminated the way it presently exists. The 3 price panels will be proposed to be removed and replaced with 2 price panels. One is a 24-inch LED red for the regular price, and then a 12-inch green LED for the diesel price. With that, there's also a reduction in the sign area proposed. Right now, that sign includes a 106 square feet with the price panels, the blank panels, and the reward panel. Our proposal is that sign to be reduced down to 76.2 square feet. Again, per our submittal. Again, in terms of the intensity of the LED lighting, we have not done any readings from the existing, internal lit placard versus the LED. So I can't testify to any amounts of illumination. But again, what happens is at night, the sensor decreases the amount of intensity for the LED lights, and during the day when it's needed, it increases. And again, it's similar to the other LED signs that you see throughout the town.
All right, any other questions, comments regarding the sign?
Madam Chair, so,
Councilor Ossing.
thank you, Madam Chair. So again, if the applicant's correct, the square footage is going down to the size of the sign.
Mike.
The RLED.
Mike.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Matt. And the square footage of the sign is going down. I believe being consistent throughout the city with the signs is appropriate. Our clerk made a point that says if you approve this, but then don't approve the 24-hour access, then you lose all your leverage to add any conditions on dimming lights. So I don't know which one, if you want to get this ready, then put it on hold, discuss 24 hours, and then go back to this, depending on where 24 hours goes. But if you vote on this as a committee and then oppose the 24 hours, you've now lost your ability to, if you wanted to dim the lights in the station proper.
Right, I believe we have Assistant Solicitor Peaks with us. You were on the phone call with me this afternoon, so we discussed how to add a condition into either one of these that talked about illumination. There was just concern that if we're too vague, how do you judge dimmer? Is there a way to add a condition into the special permit regarding the lighting of the site?
With respect to the sign permit or with the 24-hour permit?
Respect to the sign permit.
So I think the question with the sign permit is generally when you're looking at regulations, they need to be reasonable in degree and related to the purposes of the regulatory structure creating that permit. So I think the question here is related to the LED sign itself and whether or not, dimming interior canopy lights is going to be related to the LED sign, and whether or not we can make that argument that a canopy light is effectively a sign. It'd be I can opine as to, whether or not it'd be difficult to make that argument. But I would suggest as to, I think you had pointed out earlier, Madam Chair, part of the regulations within the sign ordinance, which is encompassed in the original permit, requires that the applicant conform with all matters of the sign code, and in that does include the dimming of those lights in between the hours of dusk and dawn. So I think we can more aptly make the call regarding dimming being a public safety issue, a public safety, sorry, I just want to look at the language in the ordinance itself. Having a detrimental effect on the public health, peace, or safety. And I think an argument can be made as to the brightness or the dimming of those lights as it relates to public safety at the facility. But I don't know if that answers the question or.
So are you saying we could put a condition into the sign permit? I guess I got the impression earlier today that relating a condition on the canopy to the sign wasn't a valid thing to do. You condition the sign, but you can't condition the canopy because they're two different things.
I apologize, Madam Chair. That what you just said is the opinion of our office at this time, that any kind of regulation that we seek to impose on a canopy is better served in the 24-hour permit and not in the sign permit itself, because again, a canopy lighting is not the sign itself. It's not what's seeking to be regulated.
Okay, and to make people comfortable to take this vote now, if we approve this in committee and we don't approve the 24-hour, the issue becomes in the winter from 5 o'clock till 11 o'clock, bright lights. In the summer, later, but still bright lights. Can code enforcement do something about the lights as they currently are, regardless of what we do? Would that be a way to handle this? Because they currently have a permit to exist, they must follow the sign ordinance if the canopy is considered a sign.
If the canopy is considered...
It has a sign on it that they can...
Right.
Maybe you can think about that and we can talk about it when we talk about the 24-hour.
Yeah, I would suggest, I would honestly, for these purposes, it would be helpful to know how the 24 hours goes, but I would suggest that any other regulations in terms of lighting, that's still in the books can be enforced, but you are correct to point out that as it's currently written at 11 o'clock, the lighting is to be dimmed to a minimal amount to provide for safety, essentially to keep the building locked and to keep the lights on for security purposes. But that begins at 11 o'clock, and you're right to point out the earlier nights as we get closer towards the winter months will prolong this period of time that those lights will be on and bright.
All right, thank you. Does any other committee member further comments? Somebody want to?
Motion to approve the LED sign permit?
All right, there's a motion to approve the LED sign permit. So with that, then I would like to kind of go through the actual language of the draft special permit, especially with the legal department with us, for questions that I have on it. In number 5, where it talks in connection with the application, the applicant submitted a picture. There is, and I would make sure that you have it, when we did an earlier sign permit, the language was very specific to what was submitted to us, it described the size of the sign. Would that be a better language, and would that be something that would get looked at when this goes to legal to be put in proper legal form? It just says it's a proposed 24-inch LED electronic pricing panel. Do we want the size of it? Do we want that it's displaying the fuel? A little more detail.
I would always say that the more detail that we can have in something like this is better, and, you know, we'll review all of this as to form as well.
Okay.
I think what's in there is permissible, but the more detail would be helpful.
Okay, and then number 8 is specific to tonight's meeting where it says the committee agreed to recommend. Does that really need to be in there? It's not in any other that I had seen. It does talk about the fact that we had held a public hearing, that's number 6. But especially if we don't agree tonight, I guess, if we postpone this to a future meeting, I guess it just seemed like the
Madam
date
Chair.
the committee recommended doesn't seem relevant. It's the date that this was approved by the council. Councilor Ossing.
Madam Chair, again, just me, and the solicitor, correct me, but we're going to vote on the conditions, what I call the upfront portion. I let legal take care of making sure it's right, and if those are changes you want to make, I'm sure legal would be happy to incorporate them. So again, number 5, if you want more detail to be consistent with the other ones, I'm sure legal can put that in or attach the picture as part of the permit. And then number 8, yeah, if the other ones don't have it, I agree with you. I mean, but I'll let legal, to me, that's a legal thing. We'll want to vote on, make sure, do we want the sign, and do the conditions meet what we want to have the sign?
Right, I just want everybody to be aware while we're here discussing if those, that those are suggestions that I have. So as you said, the real 2 conditions that we have as part of this are that the sign shall be operated in accordance with the sign ordinance and shall be turned off when the service station is not open for business, and there's a typo in there, and all other extraneous signage shall be removed from the site. And number 2, all plans and documents provided by the applicant as part of the application as amended during the application hearing process before the City Council or the Urban Affairs Committee are incorporated into and become part of this electronic message board center sign display, LED sign special permit, and become conditions and requirements of the same unless otherwise altered by the City Council. So, is there further discussion on the motion to approve? Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to mention as well, thank you to the applicant for doing that trial, shutting the lights off. I still believe, I know the city solicitor can opine on it, I believe as the ward councilor, I would like to see some kind of condition with this LED sign. I mean, the applicant, and I do thank the applicant, he did go forward to give that a try. So I would definitely like to see that worked in the LED special permit signage. Working on mitigating the lighting and that canopy to offset that new luminous brightness that's going to be coming with the LED sign. I mean, because the applicant did go through the trial of testing it out with the lighting off.
Correct, but you understand that the solicitor is saying that having the canopy related to the sign is not appropriate. So there wouldn't be a condition in the sign permit talking about the canopy.
Because if we wait to the 24, because I mean, obviously I don't want to impede any safety issues or anything like that for the neighborhood. It's just that I didn't know if we could work some kind of language in there to add it into the signage. I guess that's a question for the city solicitor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The assistant city solicitor is here. I talked to both of them today. Are you not clear on what their ruling would be? That it can't be in there?
So I guess that means that building and code enforcement would be the enforcer to do anything if something was out of balance, I guess.
Madam
Counselor
Chair.
Ossing.
So, again, it's our permit. We can put any language we want in the permit. My comment to Councilor Irish would be, what do you want? I mean, if there's something specific you want, what are the words? Now, if you want to work on it so when it gets reported out and make that amendment then, that's fine. But you need words. We can't just say we want something. What is it that we want? So we have something to actually work on.
And I would agree we need words, but and maybe he can opine, I would think when we say put this in proper legal form, that legal would say that's not proper legal form because there's nothing that you can do to mitigate it. If they don't change the sign,
Right.
they're
But I believe we're
taking it to
dancing around
court.
two issues. One, the sign, so Councilor Irish has got to be clear. Does he want the sign dimmed, or does he want the station dimmed? There's two different things. So what is it that we want? I mean, we're dancing around and no one's standing up and saying, this is what I want. So if we can't be clear, Urban Affairs has got to do their job, and the solicitors will put the permit in proper format. But what is it that you want? And from my opinion, this sign seems no different than any other LED sign that we've approved throughout the city.
Thank you, and I
Period.
would agree with that, and I think we're all clear that there is current language in the code that the sign, the LED sign
Yep.
must be dimmed at night. So that doesn't need to be in here as a condition.
That is correct,
It's-
Madam Chair.
It's in the fact that the condition that's already there, that they have to meet the sign ordinance.
Right. And like I
Madam
said, the
Chair?
residents' concerns was adding the additional LED signs. If the special permit gets approved, their concerns are, well, that canopy has been very bright, so if they're going to get an LED special permit, then the residents want a little bit of restitution right there with the mitigating of the canopy lights.
Right, and I understand their concerns, and I think that we can make sure that that happens, regardless of whether there's a condition or not, or whether we approve the 24 hours or not.
And I do agree that the LED sign that's already in the ordinance, absolutely, that's already there.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I was just reviewing the notes and what was said earlier. The LED signs are actually going to be smaller than what's up there now. The 3 panels that are there is
Correct.
106 square feet, and the LEDs are going down to 76.2. The technology basically brightens during the day and dims during the night. If you're driving down the road, you don't want a very bright LED, attacking the eyes of the driver, because it's just not safe from that perspective either. So I'm hoping that, it's going to be reasonable by living within the norms for these types of signs. And I think and agree completely that, something needs to be done about the canopies, but that's the next round. So, again,
Thank you.
let's move on
Is there
with you.
further discussion? All right, hearing none, I will take a roll call vote on the motion to approve the special permit for an LED sign. Counselor Wagner.
Counselor Wagner votes yes.
Counselor Doucette.
Counselor Doucette votes yes.
Counselor Naven.
Counselor Naven votes yes.
Counselor Landers.
Councilor Landis votes yes.
And Counselor Roby votes yes. That's 5 yay. So that one will be a recommendation to approve. This will need to be put into proper legal form. There is no time frame on this, so when it gets reported out on the 24th, we can suspend to refer to legal, and then it would be on our next agenda, if that's okay with everybody?
Yep.
All right. So number 2 on our agenda is the request for 24-hour operation for this same gas station at 431 Lincoln Street. This is a special request that they need to ask for as part of the reading of the code. I believe that the council clerk gave everybody a copy of a prior permit that was issued to a former gas station back in 2002. We can, it's not very clear. I have to dig out my paper copy.
Need it?
I don't think we need to have all of these conditions, but I think it's a good template to go through to see if we want some of them. I did actually talk to the solicitor today about this one, and I guess we can just start really with the lights. His intuition, that's probably not the right word, because he wasn't sure how to put language in about dimming the lights. The language that
We're waiting for the power company to kill the power.
Excuse
It's on
me?
the high tension line.
Do we have someone on here? Okay. I talked to the solicitor, and then I talked to Commissioner Cook. The solicitor had suggested that we have the petitioner provide us with the current photometric plan, and then a updated plan showing less illumination and less light going out past the lot line, which then meets the code. I don't know if that's something that he looked at, when you went to site plan for the canopy, there was nothing in there about the lighting itself. Now, my understanding is the canopy stayed the same, the lights were changed, but he doesn't know to what. You've shown that you can shut off the lights around the top of the canopy, but you haven't shown whether you can dim the lights. And again, the question becomes, if we just put a condition that you will dim the lights, what does that mean? So I don't know if there's a way for you to do the photometric plan and come up with a new plan. Yep, I think
He's on
you're
mute.
muted. Or
Sorry about that. Sure we can do that. We'll find out how that can be done and do it if that's what you want me to do. I would like to just say though that the lights that are on the canopy have not changed in 5 or 6 years. The band on the outside of the canopy changed with the construction, but the lights underneath, ones that National Grid put in 5 or 6 years ago on one of their energy saving programs. And the only lights that we changed during the construction is that yellow band that I shut off.
All right, so the commissioner's understanding was you actually did change the lights from regular lights to LED. If that's not true.
I did, but it was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
All right.
It was not during the construction.
So I don't know what all of a sudden caused this to look brighter than it ever looked before.
Madam Chair?
Well, they power wash the canopy, so it looks whiter, which of course is gonna make it look brighter.
Be true. All right, Councilor Doucette, did you have a question?
But I mean, I surely could get that survey done to measure, Steve Pedro, I believe just signed off, his company can do that.
All right, because even if those lights were installed 5 years ago, it's clear that there is bleed past the property line that there should not be. And the only way to determine if that's true is to do the photometric plan and then to design a new one so that there is less bleed.
Okay.
Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Yeah, I remember hearing about this and the last time we went through this, and either it was a paint job or a power wash, but, getting rid of 20 years of grime will definitely brighten up its surface area. But I'm concerned as far as what part of the city's authority is going to cover the brightness of this spot? Is this something that, if it's the city council, is this going to be precedent? Is this something that should be addressed by the building inspector, or is what the gentleman said earlier, possibly the police department for safety? I think it's extremely bright. I remember first time I drove by and I saw it, it's like, wow, what the heck did they do? Makes sense now, but I'm not sure who makes the final call, whether or not it should be us or some other authority in the city. And I'm just putting that out there.
And I understand the concern. It's my understanding, and I can be corrected by the solicitor, it would be code enforcement again. It's in the code for the fact that bleeding outside of the property should not be happening.
Okay.
So I guess this started with the conversation from me asking if there could be a condition put in there that the applicant would have to dim the lights. And the question became, that word dim, what does it mean? So both the solicitor recommended verbiage. When I talked to the commissioner, he changed it to be the correct verbiage, to be photometric plan, because that's what they want. So the issue becomes, we ask them to provide us with a photometric plan that would then meet the code, and then we would have a condition that they must implement the plan.
Okay, sounds good.
Does that make sense to everybody? Solicitor, did you have something? You look like you're ready to speak. No? Okay, you're also. And then the other piece that I had concern on, we had all received from Pam Wilderman a list of police calls and a record of that kind of thing. So I had asked whether there could be a condition put in that if we grant the 24-hour operation, the police department could shut it down. Again, the solicitor said that his recommendation was not to allow it to be the police, but to in fact have it be us. And he gave me language that would be that City Council reserves the right to review, modify, suspend, or revoke this permit for failure to comply with any terms and conditions of the permit and/or to maintain public health, peace, or safety, including but not limited to any extended hours, operations which become a focal point for police attention. So if we get a letter from the chief of police saying, there have been too many incidents at this station, I recommend you shut it down, or if we get complaints from residents, any of those things happen, it comes back to us to then make that decision. Because there are obviously some concerns from both code enforcement and the police department for the area and the site. So that would be a recommendation that I would have, that be one of the conditions that be in this permit, assuming anybody wants to move to grant it. So if we want to go back through the conditions from the 2002, does that seem like a plan? Just the language is pretty much taken out of the code, I think, where it says, and then the very first one is that it is it's in regard to location and holder, the exemption shall be non-transferable. Number 2 is that it's issued for an initial period of 1 year from the date of approval. Thereafter, at the discretion of the City Council, this exemption may be renewed for successive 5-year periods. It's my understanding from the code that it didn't have to be 5 years. It could be up to 5 years. So we could say another year, we could renew it for 3 years, but the most would be 5. So maybe that language could be checked a little bit. Number 3 is the petitioner shall install, maintain, and use a video surveillance and video recording system to monitor entryways and sales attendant positions. And I guess I would ask the petitioner, does that sound like something you already have? Is it a reasonable condition?
We already have that.
Okay, so that's good. Number 4 is the petitioner shall install and maintain a silent robbery panic alarm system, which must be monitored by a central alarm system. Alarm activators must be installed at all sales attendant positions. How about that one?
We currently have two, one at the cashier's area for the gas portion, and then one also at the deli section under both of their counters.
And number 5 is that the petitioner shall permit the chief of police or his designee to inspect upon demand the video surveillance at the site. The petitioner must limit the hours of operation of the station to, if any of the systems are found to not be in compliance with these conditions, petitioner must limit the hours between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. until full compliance with conditions is achieved.
Of course.
Number 6 is the petitioner shall not permit or suffer any automotive repair work to be performed on the premises by any person. As far as I know, you don't even have bays. So to me, that's one that I am comfortable not having in there unless people think that they might just pull up and do automotive work. Is that people, Counselor Doucette?
Yeah, I think having that there is good from basically them keeping riffraff out. You know, someone comes up with a bad tire and they're starting to replace the tire, there's things like that that can go on, and they can say, no, you can't do that, you know. So it's not them as much as people that come up to the gas station.
All right, so is everybody comfortable keeping that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Number 7, the petitioner shall during all hours of operation have at least 2 employees on the premises to serve the public, one of whom shall be available to pump gasoline for the disabled elderly person 65 years of age or older upon proof of such age, and disabled veterans. And I think that comes from state code, that you're required to have someone who can come and help disabled people, but I'm not sure about the 2 people part.
We are required to, go out and pump gas. Typically, a handicapped person would drive up and blow their horn. That's sort of the universal signal. And the employee would go out. We are not required to have 2 people.
But it would leave the inside unattended if you had that person leave to go pump gas.
Yeah, it does sometimes.
Do you typically only have one person on site?
Well, I mean, at Lincoln Street from, I guess it's like 4:30 in the morning, or right now it's like 5:30, but when we were open 24, it was from like 4:30 until 10. We have 2 people. And then at Lincoln Street, the graveyard shift is only 1 person. Well, actually, any of my gas stations, the graveyard shift is only 1 person.
Members, anybody feel the need to have them have 2 people?
Well,
Or have any of
ordinarily, Madam Chair, I would, but as long as they take care of the handicapped person, and I suppose they figured out that they can chance letting that person go out and do the handicapped person, and if someone rips them off inside, takes a few items, a couple cupcakes or something like that, it's better than paying that second person, $12 an hour. So I think that's a business decision that they make, and they chance that it's cheaper to maybe get ripped off a little bit than to bring someone on for a 8-hour shift at $12 an hour. So as long as they take care of the handicapped person.
And I think they have to by state code, so I don't know if that needs to be a condition or not. But Councilor Navin, do you have?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up on that, is there a protocol at the station now if that does happen? Does the single employee, do they lock the store, or do they at least lock the area where the cash register is? I know that just from a public safety standpoint, I know the computers can obviously control the pumps, et cetera. Is there a way to, if they are going out to help someone who's older or disabled?
I mean, ideally, that's what they would do, walk out, just lock the door behind them, pump the gas for the customer, and then, just go right back in. I mean, honestly, very rarely would we have a handicapped person show up between 11 and, 6 o'clock in the morning? I'm sure it could happen, but most of the time they come during the middle of the day.
Is everybody comfortable deleting number 7?
I think so.
All right. And number 8 is the petitioner shall provide appropriate signage directing aforementioned customer to designated gasoline pumping location. I would take it that aforementioned customer is a handicapped person. So do you currently have signage for a special pump for handicap? Or they can
No,
go
we
to
do
any
not.
of them?
No, it's any of them.
So deleting 8, do we really need to have anything about signage for handicapped people if they don't currently have it?
Probably not.
Everybody's okay?
Madam Chair.
Counselor Naven?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious to know, just for clarity purposes, if somebody is handicapped or disabled and they do come to the station, it may be helpful for them to know that they can go to any of the pumps, so there's not confusion there when they arrive. I know some gas stations obviously do, right? Your end pump or whatnot, it has more space and it's available, so I just don't know if by deleting it, are we leading to more confusion?
Were you required to have any kind of signage for handicap access when you went to site plan?
No, we were not.
No, okay.
I currently have 4 other gas stations and none of them have a handicap dispenser. We just take care of the customer, whatever dispensary pulls up to.
All right, and they're all identical
It's kind of a code, they just tap their horn twice and, the employee usually looks up and, notices that he's got handicap plates and goes out and takes care of them.
All right. So,
I could surely put a handicap sticker on the dispenser. That's not a big deal, but.
but if it's on there and people are just driving in, they're not necessarily going to see it. To me, signage would mean something on the sidewalk or the entrance, go to pump number something, which seems like a lot of work, if they can go to any pump at all. So,
Yep, no, that's fine. It was more of a curiosity. As long as it's ADA compliant and they're able to take care of the customers, that's fine.
all right, so we can get rid of number 8. And then is everybody okay with the one that I had read about the city council reserving the right to review, modify, suspend, or revoke the permit? All right, and then I guess the question becomes, are we comfortable with asking the petitioner to do the photometric plan and provide us with a plan that would then become a condition without having the plan looked at and approved by the building commissioner and the city electrician before we approve this? So do we just want to put language in that the petitioner must meet the plan provided? I'm sure the solicitor could come up with language that would work, but we wouldn't have the plan. Or do you want to move to postpone completing this until we have the plan? I guess that's our choice. Councilor Wagner?
Question, Madam Chair. So when we went through that list, so the 2 things on that, one is I didn't hear us, it seems like we are adding language, right, about dimming, because that during those graveyard shift hours, the extended hours, and then the photometric plan, that's already is that already not a condition? So
No, it's not. Well,
they're not supposed to illuminate outside the boundaries of their property, correct?
correct. But I think if we're more comfortable having it be a condition versus counting on it being in the code and having it have to go to code enforcement.
So could we put that language together to clarify that part? And, are we, the concern, I'm not seeing where we're adding the dimming of the lights in the evening hours. Are we adding that?
I don't think anybody specifically added dimming at night. again, because of the language that is in the code, but we have the solicitor, can there be, I guess it becomes that concern of dimming to what? To a certain wattage, to a certain, I don't know what the electrical terminology is, and to whose standard?
But couldn't it simply be, so Madam Chair, I'm sorry, so couldn't it simply be the maximum is during the day and dimming is less than maximum? I mean, that's to help the area residents. It's so much brighter now with the canopy. Any reduction in light is got to be better than maximum light, no?
Right, and again, I don't know what is, the language is in 52613B6. That's what the sign language says they have to meet.
Madam Chair?
Do we, it says sign owners shall ensure that the signs are dimmed to meet brightness standards, or that the signs are turned off from sunset to sunrise. So if we're giving them 24-hour ability to operate, those signs are going to be on. They're not going to be turned off, but they must be dimmed. It's in the code already. We can make it a condition, but it seems redundant to have that condition.
Madam Chair?
Counselor Doucette?
Thank you very much. I would be more comfortable seeing what their plan would be with examples before approving this and saying, you know, instead of just leaving it to, I mean, it would be up to inspectional services, but it would be good to actually see examples. I mean, they're very forthcoming in working with the city and trying to address this issue. So I trust them to actually get, you know, that we'd be heading to some point of reasonable compromise with this. But I think, you know, we can knock this down the road and postpone this part until we actually see some photo examples that show, you know, how the different lighting schemes would work based upon what would be proposed. And if, hopefully it'll be good enough, you know, but I think I'd rather see it than actually vote on it tonight.
All right, so is that kind of a consensus of the committee? We can ask them to do the current plan, do a updated plan. When they have that available, they can let me know. We can set up another Urban Affairs Committee meeting, continue the discussion, finalize the condition, and see if everybody's happy and is in agreement to do the 24 hours or if not. Councilor Ossing.
Not a voting member on the committee, I would agree. I just don't want you to lose all the good work you've done. I would recommend you get all the things you've agreed to cleaned up and have that available when the photometric plans, current and dimmed, are presented to the council.
Right,
or the Urban Affairs.
and I'm sure either I or with our trustee assistant can make sure that there is a clean copy, because I really wasn't even sure if we approve a 24-hour permit, I would assume there has to be some sort of an order like this. So I didn't know who did that. So we can sort of create a template that'll be ready for the next Urban Affairs meeting, ready to put the additional language. Does that work for everybody? So is there a
Motion to table.
move to postpone?
No, motion to postpone.
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair. So just for clarification, when we talk about dimming, I think that needs to be included. We're not talking about the sign, we're talking about the canopy. And if I remember right from the public hearing, right now there is no way, the lights either on or off. So not only the photometric plan, but part of that would be the plan for how they will dim the canopy lights. I think that needs to be specifically mentioned.
Yeah, and from what I understood from Mr. Camuso to say already, he can dim them, so the plan can have how they're dimmed and when they're, we could.
Can we clarify that though? Because I think we said the sign can be dimmed, but my understanding is there's no dimming capabilities as of right now with the canopy. I don't know if.
Yeah, I didn't ask that specific question. I asked about the area lights outside and the lights, the LED lights that are around the face of the outside of the building. And the electrician said that they are dimmable. You know, he said just like But unfortunately, I did not ask them specifically about the LED lights that are on the bottom side of the canopy. I would think that they're dimmable also, but I don't want to say that they are without really knowing that.
Right.
And just for clarification, I mean, I think what would happen is the LED sign needs to be bright during the day, and then it dims at night. But the canopy lights and all the outside lights, once we set the dim, whatever it's gonna be, they'll always be the same. We won't be changing the dimness of the lights outside. We'll throw a switch on, they'll just always be the same. Hopefully you can do something so that, it's locked in my office or whatever and no one can tamper with it, but there's no reason to raise and lower the brightness or dimness of the lights outside once we're set.
And I would think that part of the discussion of the plan was the actual type of the LED bulb. Those white, bright lights, from what I understand, could be changed to be warmer, yellower lights. Yellow is probably not the right word, so I think that's part of the photometric plan, the fact that what the bulbs you're using. And if in fact that they can't be dimmed, they don't need to be bright during the day, they need to be on at nighttime, but
Right,
not on to the effect that they're on now.
right.
So, does that answer your question, Counselor Wagner? Or you,
It feels like we went down a different path, but as long as there's a plan to make the lights under the canopy less bright, that seems like a good direction to move in.
okay. All right, so there is a motion to ask the petitioner for a photometric plan, the current one and a new one that will hopefully make all of us happier, and to postpone until the next Urban Affairs Committee meeting, whose date is not currently set. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor with a roll call vote. Counselor Landers.
Councilor Landis votes yes.
Counselor Naven.
Counselor Naven votes yes.
Counselor Wagner.
Counselor Wagner votes yes.
Counselor Doucette.
Counselor Doucette votes yes.
And Counselor Roby votes yes. So that gets that one done. So, Mr. Camuso, we look forward to hearing from you with some information. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you all, and good night.
All right, the last item on our agenda, hopefully, is a quick one. It is to finish up the language for the zoning change for the solar voltaic overlay district. And I think that there might have been some confusion among people, at my fault, when we were sent the red line last, whatever day that it was. I looked at it and had a question, actually a couple of questions, that I sent to the solicitor, and so the solicitor looked at my questions, and he sent out a new copy today where he said minor edits. And so some people may wonder what is going on between the red line version and what you received today. So I will try to explain. On page 4, there was, in the red line edition, there was a new Roman numeral 8 added in. The solicitor took language from the original copy that was below item G, and it read, copies of all applicable permit applications and final permits, including but not limited to Mass DEP, electric utility, Conservation Commission, site plan review, etc. He added it to, he added a new section, but the red line used to have a sentence in there that said, at the end of item Roman numeral 7, that said, "Site plan review may waive documentary requirements as it deems appropriate." So when I read that at the end of item 7, my question to him was, does that only relate to the items mentioned in item 7, or is it any document? So he took that sentence and moved it to a separate sentence where it stands alone and refers to any of the documents that are delineated in B 1 through 8. So that's really the biggest issue that he did today, other than he took, I had asked why it's, in one of them, the draft had site plan review committee. He deleted committee, and I asked why. He responded that it's referred to as site plan in the documents, and so he was comfortable not adding that word committee. He did make site plan review committee, some were caps, some were lowercase, so it's consistent throughout the document. Other than that, the red line and the final copy have the discussion that we had at our meeting about screening, and it did delete the sentence in IE. So I think everybody should be comfortable with this final version, and it would be considered a document in proper legal form. There can be the letter on the council agenda on the 24th stating that. I would report out that we approve this, and then we can vote on it as a full committee.
Motion to approve in its current form.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the amended zoning ordinance for solar voltaic overlay district. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I will, oh, sorry, Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much. Just, is there a pressing urgency to get this done?
There
Or
is,
There
yes,
is.
it must be
There is.
done on the 24th, or we start all over again,
Right, okay.
which is
that
why
part.
we wanted to get this in
Okay,
proper form.
so we're going to approve it that night. Do we need to do a motion to approve it that night as well?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the effort of getting it in proper form and ready to be finalized at that meeting.
Okay.
All right, so no further discussion. I will take a roll call on this one. Counselor Landers.
Council Landis votes yes.
Counselor Doucette.
Counselor Doucette votes yes.
Counselor Navin.
Counselor Navin votes yes.
Counselor Wagner.
Counselor Wagner votes yes.
And Counselor Roby votes yes. That's 5 yea. This will then be on the council agenda with a letter and the actual document. It'll get moved to committee reports. I'll report out the vote, and we can hopefully finalize this, so we can move forward. And with,
Great.
ready for a
Motion
motion
to
to adjourn?
adjourn?
All right, there's a motion to adjourn. I'll do a roll call vote on that one also. Counselor Wagner.
Counselor Wagner votes yes.
Counselor Navin.
Counselor Navin votes yes.
Counselor Doucette.
Counselor Doucette votes yes.
Counselor Landers.
Council Landis votes yes.
And Counselor Roby votes yes. So we are adjourned at 8:40. Thank you, everyone.